Well, following that explosive meeting at the White House earlier today between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky, let's bring in the former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. He was ambassador under President Obama from 2012 to 2014. Mr. Ambassador, it's good to have you on our program today. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
I know you come at this from a partisan prism. I've seen some of your posts on social...
No, I don't. I need to disagree with that. I come from this from an American perspective, thinking about American foreign policy and American national security interests. So
you were critical, nonetheless, of the activities that took place today in the Oval Office against the president and the vice president, and even in some respects what's been said afterwards by the Secretary of State. I'm looking at some social media posts of yours. My intention in mentioning that was I'd like to try and not have this as a distinctly partisan conversation, but one that can advance the ball forward, if you would. And your reaction to what you saw today, as it pertains to, the geopolitical relationships that seem to be changing, is what?
Well, I said what I said. I apologize for interrupting, because that's the easy play. But if somehow you criticize what the president is doing, you're somehow partisan. And I am an American first, and I think about American national security interests first. I work at the Hoover Institution, not exactly a bastion of progressive thinking. And what I saw today, I don't think, as an American, is in our national interests. What happened today, who does it serve? It serves Vladimir Putin. Putin is a dictator. He invaded a democratic country for no reason. He has annexed 20% of that country for no reason. He has killed thousands of people, civilians, for no reason. He has taken 20,000 Ukrainian kids and kidnapped them. And so if we're doing things that help him, I don't think that is in America's long-term national interest. I want to be on the side of freedom and democracy, not on the side of the dictators. And today was not a good day for American diplomacy.
Why do you think that this administration has had a difficult time articulating the perspective that you just put forth? You had, as I said earlier, when I was discussing this with Eamon, President Trump calling Zelensky a dictator, the refusal of our defense secretary to come out and say publicly and definitively that it was Russia who was the aggressor in all of this, and then, of course, the vote at the UN earlier this week.
You need to ask them that. I do not understand it. I don't understand it because we've never in our country's history voted with the rogue regimes that we voted for in the United Nations. That is just unprecedented. We never criticized Putin. I mean, let's just talk about the deal for a minute, right? Let's just leave out, Putin versus Zelensky. I've negotiated with the Russians. I know what it's like. They're tough negotiators. And it's diplomacy 101 that you don't give away all your best cards before you sit down at the table. And I just don't understand the strategy. I worry that the president is actually not interested in a deal about Ukraine. He's more interested in restarting relations with Russia, but I don't understand it. You need to ask them.
Can this be repaired, what happened today? What do you think the next step needs to be?
I hope so. It's in America's interest to sign that minerals deal. That was a good deal for the American people. That they didn't sign it today, that's no good for us. And we just need to measure outcomes based on what is good for American national security interests and not get into all this personal stuff and relitigating what happened in 2016 and all that. I wish the president and his team would focus on what's good for us today. And this is a good deal. And so I hope that the diplomats will take over. Diplomacy works best when it's behind closed doors, not in press sprays. And I hope Secretary Rubio and his team will now re-engage with their Ukrainian counterparts and continue to engage with their Russian counterparts. By the way, I support the president's notion that we have to deal with the Russians as well. I support what the vice president said today, that we have to talk to Russia to get a deal. But let's do it in ways that advance our interests and are just not for public consumption, because no diplomacy that's ever succeeded that I've ever studied or practiced happens in front of press sprays.
What do you say to those who suggest the money can't keep flowing forever and ever and ever, and some drastic measure of some kind needs to be taken to end this war. And if tough talk in the Oval Office today is the thing that moves the ball forward to get it done, so be it.
If at the end of the day, the blow up today leads to a deal, a mineral deal, and then leads to peace, I will applaud President Trump. I've been in negotiations before where I've had blow-ups. I've had Russian officials walk out of the room because it got so heated. There wasn't a camera there, but that's happened. And if that happens, I'll be the first to applaud President Trump. But let's be clear, there is no money flowing to Ukraine right now. That is a myth. We did not give Ukraine $350 billion. That is a myth. This deal that the president of Ukraine flew here to sign would have been good for the American people. That would have led to money eventually flowing to us. By the way, 6, 8, 10 years from now, it takes a long time to get mining companies up and running, and they're not going to go in there while the war is ongoing. But that would have been good for precisely the point that you did. So maybe they blew it up this time and they'll resurrect it. I hope that to be true, because this would have been a good outcome for us, and we missed that opportunity today.
Sir, I appreciate so very much you joining me.